Hello, welcome back to Some Talks About, where we watch films and talk about them. If you're new here, click subscribe so we can start a discussion together. I finally got around to watch Ready or Not. I was a bit worried that it was a slasher horror movie, and I'm kind of a bit scared of that genre because just I'm a wimp. And to be honest, I have very little expectation of this film because I just expected a crappy slasher movie because that's how it was marketed to me as well. So the story goes that Grace is about to get married with this guy who is from an extremely wealthy family, and the story starts with them exchanging their vows in the big mansion that is owned by the family of the husband. And on their wedding night, it's a family tradition that the new member will join the rest of the family to play a game around the table. So the new member will have to pick a game. And then usually it's a silly game unless it's hide and seek, which is what sets off this story. Our hero Grace thought that they're just going to play something silly, like, oh, hide and seek. Oh, that sounds silly to be playing at wedding night. But you know what? Rich people are eccentric anyway, so she was like, I'll just play along. But the game turns deadly really quickly when the rest of the family started picking up deadly weapons and started to hunt her like an animal. And yes, the family is out for blood, so I wasn't sure how serious I should take the film because it's kind of satire. So Grace thinks that this is all fun and dandy, and meanwhile, the family is out to shoot an arrow in her face. There's a curse in this family that started many, many years ago that was kind of hinted at throughout the film. The film did a really good job at just slightly hinting towards that story without using any, harsh flashback. But basically, one of the ancestors of the family, he made a deal with a strange man called Labelle, which is heavily hinted to be the devil. And the devil promised him great wealth as long as he adds this tradition to play a game with each new addition to the family. And each new addition to the family have to draw the card, and the card will tell them what game they need to play. And then most of the time it's something cute, but if they draw the card of hide and seek, then they need to kill and sacrifice that person, that new family member. Otherwise, everybody else have to die. However, if the new family member draws the card of hide and seek, then they have to kill and sacrifice that person for the break of dawn, otherwise they're all going to die. As Grace was hiding, though, it soon became clear to her that this was not just a game to them. When she witnesses one of the servants being shot in the face by one of the family members who mistook the servant as Grace. Some of the deaths in this film were played for laughs, so this is why I have to say that this is a satire. And it also was a way to show to the audience how little care the family has for the people who are being shot. For example, the servant who was killed that I mentioned earlier, when she was killed, the family member didn't feel sorry at all. To them, they were just animals, they were just collateral damage in order for them to kill Grace. None of the deaths were truly uncomfortable, but there was one scene in the movie that I have to warn you that is a bit icky if you're like me and not super into horror movie. There was one scene with the main character played by Samara weaving where she hits something and she screams the most. It hits your eardrums in a way. The way she screams, just the way it hits your eardrums, you can really feel like she was acting her butt out from that scene. So I think she did a really good job, by the way. And it really shined through because this was really her film. She was in nearly every shot of this movie. What I loved the most about this film was the very sharp social commentary this film had about rich people and what it ultimately is about, which is greed. All the working class people in this film was used as either as a sacrifice or being hunted like animals. The film winks at the audience to show you that this film is about excess. This film about this family who is so rich, but they want more and they want all of these wealth. They will do anything to, claim their power, and it doesn't matter to them who they need to sacrifice in order to do that. And it's becomes increasingly clear the moment when their status is being threatened, they will do anything to protect that, and especially protect themselves. Grace was introduced to us as a person with very little means. So she's a foster child, she has nobody, she doesn't have any family. And in contrast to her, she's about to be married to this husband who is from very wealthy family. The family seems outwardly like any normal family. The parents were especially nice to her, I would say polite. But the moment when it was clear that Grace is going to be a threat to their existence, and by existence I mean their status, they will always pull ranks and protect each other first. This is previously showcased brilliantly in Jordan Peele's Get Out, which also talks about class but also about race, and about in from Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, which also was about class, that this film does in more subtle way. The family also doesn't show any remorse or mourning for any of the characters, like any of the people that they kill. And you can see that it's not their first time killing people, because all of them are so used to this. And there was also a part where you see that they actually have sacrificed, they have a pit of corpses which indicates that they do these sacrifices regularly. Her husband throughout most of the film appears to be the only sane rich person, and she was trusting him to set her free. And in most of the film he was genuine to, wanting to set her free, but there were preconditions to his affection, which is that she needs to love her back, and his morals were based on whether he's going to receive something back from her. And the moment it became clear that she no longer trusts him, and he turned just like that, and he was ready to betray her and to sacrifice her to the devil. And I can't believe I'm saying this with a straight face, that I think this is a very good commentary and allegory about class when I'm talking about, the devil and arrows hunting people. But yeah, I did not expect that. Nobody has told me about this, so I was very pleasantly surprised. I have very low expectation, and they exceeded and beyond on what a great film this could be. On top of all the allegory, the film still managed to put in a 90-minute, extremely entertaining hunt and be hunted story. Even if you ignore all of the allegory, which will be very difficult to do so, it's still just a very entertaining, fun movie to watch. And the non-stop thrill ride of this movie still managed to hit me with a final plot twist at the end of the movie that I just absolutely did not expect, but was so satisfying. The world building in this movie was so good that I actually ended up looking up the lore and the background story of this movie to see whether it was based on anything. The story about LaBelle being the devil, and it's actually not based on anything, it's just its own story. So I think that's extremely cool. And I love how the writers have intended the story to have 3 layers. So you have the most upper layer, which is the story about a woman being hunted by people who are trying to kill her and sacrifice her to the devil. And the second layer is the backstory of the ancestor who traded the destiny of each new family member for the wealth of the rest of his family. And the third one is the allegory, the most underlying layer, the allegory of what class between what rich people will do and how working class people have to suffer, all while telling a story that is extremely entertaining without any narration, any flashbacks, that tells the viewer what they're supposed to think. It was so well made that I felt robbed that I didn't see this film in the cinema, because this is what cinema was made for. I'm geeking out so hard right now on this film. Seeing how Get Out and Parasite was so universally loved for the way they tell stories and allegories about class and race, I'm surprised that this film didn't get the same amount of love and attention. because the critics loved this movie, but the audience didn't really show up. So with all that said, I can't wait for all my friends to watch it so we can all talk about this. When I see a film that I love, I try to force all of my friends to see it. So if you're watching this, yes, I'm telling you to watch it and then message me about what you think about it. The writers opened up a messy can of worms with this story, and I think the world building in this one is so good that they totally can pull off a sequel if they want to, although I don't see there were any plans that there going to be a sequel. I am a bit cautious about sequels because they could kill the magic from the first one, and I hope they don't do that. There were no updates from the producers that they're going to be a sequel, but that makes it even more amazing to me because there was just so much story in this one movie that you can feel like the story which is bleeding out of the edges of the movie. That's a very rare feeling. Either way, I can't wait to see what the writers and the directors will do next, and I will also follow the actors and hopefully see even better performances from them in the future. I love this film, and it's essentially one of the best films I saw this year. What did you think of it? Have you seen it? Will you see it now? Comment below and let's start a discussion. In the meantime, stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you later. Bye!